Hey everyone, I did a small thread on improvement, flaws in understanding the game, and what makes top players good on Blue Sky. I don't want that thread to die, so I figured it'd be good to transfer it to video format. I'm like a month late, but like whatever. So I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna basically be reading the thread aloud. So the main things I want to get across is going to be about practicality, simplicity. The easier something is, the faster it is. The faster it is, usually the better it is. Anyway, let's get started. The biggest fault of a lot of niche options or theory crafting that I see, which is fun, I just want to put a disclaimer out there. There's nothing wrong with that. I theory craft a lot as well, but I just want to say a common pitfall of a lot of these options I see is that these compositions tend to fall apart whenever something goes wrong. Something to keep in mind for Splatoon, especially Splatoon 3, is that things go wrong all the time. And a lot of people seem to think that when you get better at the game, it'll decrease that. You know, I think there have definitely been times where you can watch a top level set and it can look really, really messy. And some people will probably think about why does that happen. But I think the important thing to understand is that the likelihood of things going wrong or the difficulty of it doesn't go down, it goes up. And the reason for that, despite the players, of course, getting better at the game, is because the pacing is faster. Lower level games are paced significantly slower, so there is less room for error at higher levels of play. At top level, teams are constantly running into each other if they're good enough, mostly because, very often, the risk of doing so is so low that there's basically no reason to not try and make something happen, especially with Tacticooler. So top level play can look a lot more volatile because there's constant challenge. This isn't to say there's no strategy, but that the comps and playstyle around it naturally accept that something will go wrong. Comps are built around having multiple ways of dealing with bad situations, because sometimes you're going to be down a player. Maybe you're going to be missing a specific special, or maybe you're just not going to have a whole lot of time. Bad comps and bad weapons in this game are usually bad because they lack answers to these kind of scenarios. Not that they naturally fall apart on paper. Good comps usually just means a set of weapons all working toward the same idea so that they function even when something is missing. I'll add here that comps are extremely specialized right now. And you can even look at meta comps. Like, look at the comp on the right. That's a pretty normal comp on the top right. Ignore whatever garbage we have over here, right? That's specialized as chip damage. Right? Even if one of those pieces go down, all of them are still really good at doing that job with each other. And you can see this with other comp styles. For example, tent and brush or tent and wiper usually go together because they're different forms of stalling and the mobility with the stalling. You'll maybe want something that fights well to take advantage of both of those aspects in the comp. Or maybe instead of a mobile weapon, you'll have a wall weapon because the wall and the tent shield work together. Etc., etc. That's typically how comps are built. Everything is very specialized right now. So these specialized comps still work toward their main goal even if one player is dead. A good tent comp will still feel like a tent comp even when the tent umbrella is dead. And this is a thing regardless of Splatoon 3. Like, tent brush was more of a thing in S2 than it is in this game, right? But the logic of it applies. It's more important that they're specialized now. When it comes to playstyles, it's the same thing. You don't need a perfect opportunity to run it down generally, as long as you do it from the right angle or coordinated with enough people or specials, it'll probably be fine. Maybe you die, maybe you lose a cooler, but maybe you kill two and the reward can snowball for sure. I'll add another disclaimer that, like, obviously you still have to know how to take the right fights. Taking more fights and taking bad fights is a different thing, and of course people who reach high level are better at picking fights that they are more likely to get some kind of value out of. Right? And that's where the nuance comes in for high-level play, which is fast-paced decision-making. Being able to react to the state of the game and most quickly pick a good decision. Making a good decision in 1 second will almost always be better than making the best decision in 2. You don't want to waste opportunities, and that's something that top players are generally really good at. The higher up you go, the more opportunities they'll find to do something relevant, and the lower down you go, the more that you'll see opportunities being missed. This is also why good players fight so often. Walking backwards in the map design, especially in Splatoon 3, gives up space. That's how they've worked since day one. It is very rarely actually worth giving up that space, because the less space there is, the less fights need to happen to win. Think about this in terms of pushing the Rainmaker, right? The less distance there is to the goal, the less team fights you need to win to get there. That's how it works on all modes. That's why taking a bad fight can sometimes still keep space. This is also a little bit of why top level can often dislike modes like clams. They simply have way more fights to go through to get to the basket than lower levels of play, which often result in bad pacing and few scoring. This isn't to say the mode is inherently non-competitive, it's just that's why the preference exists so much there. Zones flows best at faster pacing, because it rewards it the most. Defender's advantage is strongest in zones, and so pushing up and taking ample space is most important in this mode if you want to hold control. Overall summary here. Top level is faster. Mistakes are easier to make because you're constantly challenged when you're not ready. 2. Comps are practical. They need to be built around the idea of options to cover when things start going wrong. 3. Making decisions faster is often better than making perfect ones slower. And 4, one I'd say that's most important here, retreating is bad and space is important. The more space you have, the more team fights the enemy needs to be able to win to take it back. To be clear here and add another layer of clarification, I'm not saying you can't ever retreat. There are some times when it's worth walking backwards, but the higher up you go, the less you'll see it generally, and it'll really only be very important scenarios. Maybe it's tower control overtime and you have a strike guy. Then it might be worth running back rather than dying with strike. But if you're a wiper, more often than not, if you can keep people off the tower longer or pull people off the tower by playing forward at a unique angle, it's probably going to be better than staying alive and not having anything to do. Right? I'd also like to add what Pika replied to me with this. I'm just going to read their words as they are there, which said, "When I was deep in my theory crafting era, the reoccurring flaws were, while comps we made had strong 1v1 potential, it all fell apart when we lost any piece of it. Our 3v4s, 2v2s were always rough, and seeing how top-level comps stayed functional in those moments changed my perspective. That said, not only is it a weapon choice thing, but from what I see, top players often seem better at reacting to the game state to adjust what they need. It doesn't always align with their role." Which is something that I want to add on to this, right? We talk about roles a lot, but I feel like it's another thing where lower down people are worried about their roles a little bit too much. Like, I often get asked, like, if Dread is more of a Slayer or not, but, like, I don't really think of it that way. To me, it's a support, but that doesn't mean it doesn't fight. Like, sometimes I just fight, and if I fight isn't going to depend on what role my weapon is, it's going to be, what do I need to do to win the video game at this time? That's what will be a factor in my decision-making. Obviously, I'm summarizing a lot into a smaller thread that are a lot, could be a lot more in-depth than this. So if there's any big questions you guys have, let me know in the comments, and I'll try to get to them. Thanks for watching, and yeah, let me know if you guys want to see more stuff like this. I might try and break down some more of these concepts, or just talk about the differences in levels of play, because I think it could be very interesting. And also, just to wrap up, this is why it's helpful to play teams that are better than you. You will be punished for mistakes you have no idea you are making. If you VOD it and learn, it'll help you get better. Thanks for watching.